Vivienne, I'm so excited to get to interview you. Thank you so much. I have Vivienne Mackinder here with me. She is known as the hairdresser's hairdresser. She's the founder of viviennemacinder.com, and she is 7-time NAHA Award winner. She was the artistic director for Vidal Sassoon and Trevor Sorbie, and she has pioneered online education. So welcome, Vivienne. Thank you so much for letting me interview you. I'm so excited to get to talk to you today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Rebekah. I look forward to chatting with you and sharing hopefully some great information with your audience.
Thank you. Vivienne, tell me, did you want to be a hairdresser? Did you want to do education? Is this something that you always wanted to do, or is it something that you kind of got into gradually? Tell us about that.
No, hairdressing was not on my vision board as a youngster. I was raised as a dancer. I was a very shy young lady, so my mother decided to put me on the stage. So I was a dancer through my youth. During my school holidays, I performed, and I always was fascinated by the arts. So one day, a dear friend who worked for the BBC television network said, why don't you become a hairdresser and makeup artist? I was like, what? And I was always fascinated when I was performing, because I would see people come in off of the street and then step into their character through costuming, through wigs, through the makeup. And I just saw their personalities totally transformed. And that had such an impression upon me. And I thought, wow, the power of hair, makeup and clothing, how it can transform who you are. And so I was intrigued. So long story short, I didn't continue with my dancing career. I went to the London College of Fashion, who specialized in getting hairdressers into film, theater or television. And so that was my initial journey into hairdressing. I didn't know anything about the educational world. I was very naive. And as much as I like makeup, I discovered that I was much more effective in 3-dimension. And at college, we learned how to make wigs. We learned the history of hair. Our college book was the first 5,000 years of hairdressing. We started with the Egyptians and we went on. And it's really fascinating when you look at the history of hair and why certain trends happened. And history repeats itself. Even now, it repeats itself. So you can take something from a medieval period and bring it in today, i.e. today, lots of women wear braids, which is all from the medieval time. And some of the choppy little haircuts that women wear today, you could call them long pixie haircuts. But if you go back in time, you'll see the Edwardian man wearing kind of a pixie haircut, and you can keep going back and back and back and see what men were wearing, women are wearing now. So I became incredibly intrigued by costume. And now when I look at a woman, I ask myself, what's her story? What's her character? And is she, glamorous, or is she bohemian? Is she rock and roll? Is she classic? And then I think, oh, well, is this woman quiet, or is she a poser? And then I look at the sensuality of that woman. Is she very soft and romantic, or is she sensual or sexy? So all of those are stories, and all of those make you who you are or who you are not. And so now when I look at a woman, I look still through those eyes from my theatrical background, because whether they're stepping on a stage, walking down a fashion runway, or on a photo shoot, it's a story. It's not just pretty hair, it's a total look. And so when a woman comes in today with Pinterest and Instagram references, it's a story that she's fallen in love with. And she's hoping that if we can recreate that look, she can be like that person. So it's fascinating how it's all unraveled.
I love that, Viv. So you're saying that you took your education from theater and have still used it today. I think that's great. Do you miss or do you ever think about going into doing theater work or doing television again? I know you've done some television. Is that something that you wish you would have done, or glad that you took the path you did?
I'm glad because, all the training that I did in the theatrical world, one of the things that they didn't tell us about was continuity. So if you're in film or television, things are not always shot in sequence. And if the character, say, for example, with your hair, in one scene, it's like you are right now. And then 5 scenes later, it has to be exactly the same. I have to recreate exactly how you are right now. That's a skill that I do not have. And I didn't realize the importance of that. Secondly, in the world of the theater, once you've designed the wigs and all of the creations, it's the same every single night. So there's a tremendous amount of repetition. Plus, there is hurry, 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 wait. And it's inconsistent in terms of income. So if you're looking at a career path for any of our friends that are thinking, well, maybe I'd like to have a little hair hobby, which I always encourage. When the local theater presents something, it's always great to find out if you can help, right?
Right.
But you have to have a personality type for it. So today, if someone's a master of hair extensions, they have patience and they thrive in repetition. Somebody else who does, 30 foils in the head, they have the gift of repetition. And as they repeat, they improve. For me, I do the reverse. The more I repeat, the more bored I get. And the first is brilliant. And then the second and the third, I'm like, oh, when's this going to be over? So I think as an artist, which is, we're all artists, and the level of how much we step into our artistry is up to ourselves. We always have to say, where is my sweet spot? And do I love it? And does it love me back? Because it has to be a circle of love. I love creating this look on Rebekah, and I love what it does for her, and vice versa. I love how I feel. So in those early days of the theater, I found out very quickly that I didn't have those aptitudes. So I had technical skills, but I didn't have the aptitude of continuity and repetition, which is why I thrived in the photographic world, because it's never the same. And in fashion shows, it's never the same. So I think it's really important to be sensitive to your inner voice and say, is this feeding me? And is this my purpose?
That's good, Vivienne. So then tell us how you decided to go in. You started working at Vidal Sassoon's. Kind of tell us about that. How did that come to be?
Well, I was at college, and I was doing classic hairdressing and classic cutting. Everything was classic, and everything was more focused towards, the performing arts. But at the time, there were these really trendy little haircuts happening, and I wasn't learning them. So we had a college holiday, and I thought, well, I think I'm going to go and learn. So in my college holiday, I went to Vidal Sassoon's and I did a month's course, and I learned all these precision haircuts. And at the time, it was very gothic. So there I am looking like a little ginger pumpkin, and I've got long hair, and they're all gothic and very, very edgy. And I really look like, the village nerd. And I thought, well, I don't belong here. But I thought, well, I'm just going to learn these techniques, right? And it was so interesting because while I was there, they sort of recognized something in me. I don't know what. And they said, would I like to come back and work for Vidal Sassoon's? And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I thought, well, I was going to go off to the BBC. I have a job there open for me. And they said, well, in the beginning, you'll just powder bald men's heads, and you'll work probably in news and then in weather. And then maybe you'll migrate over and you'll do a Jane Austen movie, or, you'll start working on period pieces, which was where I was really interested in. And I thought, oh, and then I actually was really shy. And I thought, I don't know whether I could handle working with celebrities because they're stars and I'm just this little person. So I thought, well, I'll just go to Vidal Sassoon's and get some confidence, and then I'll go back to that world. And what was interesting is that I became an apprentice because I had to go through the training. So it was quite a long apprenticeship program. So I'm now like 3 years into being a hairdresser and still haven't charged anyone for a haircut yet. So I'm still learning and growing. And eventually I became a stylist. And eventually, 2 years later, I became the artistic director. And I was the youngest one at Sassoon's at the time to become an art director. And very quickly, they recognized that I had something about going on stage. And I thought that was very peculiar. Why would anyone go on a stage to do hair? Because I was a performer, right? And so they said, no, you're going to go on a stage. And it was a huge show in London. It was the Wembley Stadium. It was big. And they had massive screens and big production. And, it was full on. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is scary. And I'd never spoken on stage. I just danced. And so when they came up to me with a microphone and I saw my face on this massive screen and I'm holding the hair, I'm seeing my hands just tremble like this. And I'm seeing it on the screen and I think I can't cut hair because my hand won't stop shaking. And I thought, this is how you die, right? And I'm like 21 years old. It was so cute. And I remember hearing my voice and thinking, oh gosh, my voice sounds terrible. And I'm like, oh, hello, everybody. And I'm doing one of these things. I think, oh, this is just so scary. And I was so nervous. The back of the stage had dropped down. And down at the bottom of the stage, ready to come up, were Erte figures. So it was all the beautiful symbols of Erte. And these models were sort of draped around the Erte figures. So after I did my little thing, I walked what I thought was off the stage, but I literally stood there like this on the edge. And I almost fell into the pit. And I almost was one of the people around the litter. And fortunately, I managed to balance myself and I got off the stage. And I thought that was the most terrifying experience of my life. I hope I never do it again. And little did I know that it was apparently successful. And I traveled the world standing on stages. And I probably performed more on a stage performing than even as a dancer.
Wow. That's amazing, Vivienne. Okay, so then you were working in London, you were still there. What was the specific reason that you moved to the United States, to New York? What was there a job, or how did you finally decide, I'm going to move?
Well, after Sassoon's, I felt like I'd learned every kind of haircut there was, and I felt like I'd hit a wall. And I knew it was time to learn something new. And one of the great hairdressers, I went to Canada for 3 years and I opened a school there. And that was a great experience. And I traveled America, but then I came back to London. And when I came back to London, I worked for Trevor Sorbie, who he's so worth researching. He's so worth, and for those young who don't know who Vidal Sassoon is, he's the father of contemporary hair designs. And it's marvelous to look at the journey of Vidal Sassoon's. I made a documentary called I'm Not Just a Hairdresser, which was about the iconic legends. So I worked for two of them. And Trevor Sorbie was an icon. You couldn't walk down the street without being recognized. His skills were extraordinary, and he wanted to develop a product line and come to the United States. So I said, well, I'll go to America, but just for 9 months, because I had a nice little flat in London. I was all sorted out. And I came here to develop a team for him and just spread the information about his product line. And so consequently, I literally was on the road, traveling all the way around the United States, doing events. It was an incredible experience to learn how to perform and present and share information. So incredible experience. And again, I traveled the world. So that's what brought me to America.
That's awesome, Vivienne. So then what made you stay? I guess, was it because you were still working with him, or did you fall in love with New York? Or...
No, actually, it was more of a personal. Well, my parents both passed away, and they were my best friends in the world. So when I came to America, I thought it would be like a new beginning. And truly, when you're grieving, it's probably not the wisest thing to do, to separate yourself from country and culture and family. But I thought, right, this will be a new start, and maybe it'll be better to heal in a foreign country, which was very difficult, really, really difficult, because especially then, the American way is so different to the British way of doing hair, the fashion, the street trends, very, very different. So I was like a fish out of water. I then met a gentleman, I got married to him, and that really was why I stayed. And so for personal reasons, I got sort of into a situation here. But my whole reason, when I first came to America, is like, right, I'm going to come to America, going to make a ton of money, go back to the UK, and I'll have my horse farm. Because I didn't think financially I could ever have a horse farm by working my tail off in London, because hairdressers in the UK don't make the same amount of money as hairdressers in the United States.
Really?
No, they don't. I mean, things have clearly changed, but they didn't. You were, if you work for the best companies in the world, which I did do, the prestige of working there, the opportunities, the doors that would open to you, open because you were the best in the world. And it was almost like I was always told in the hard times, just remember, every door in the world will open to you, because of the skill and the knowledge that people want. And bear in mind, we didn't live in an Instagram world. So you had to fly to get that information, and you had to study, and you didn't have, I mean, some people took videos, but very few people even took a photograph. So it was a different way of learning to today. So today, it's all in our face. There's so much information today out there. We don't really need more information. What we need is more wisdom.
Vivienne, throughout your career, what has been your favorite job and your least favorite job about this beauty industry that we're in?
Wow. I think even though photo shoots can really strip away the essence of who you are in terms of creativity, skill, stress, understanding the brief of a photo shoot, as challenging as that can be, it can also be so rewarding and so gratifying. And I measure myself by the results of my photography. Like, how gorgeous is that look? So that's one sort of a reference point. So I would say my favorite would be photo shoots. Situations I have been in, I can think of a time when I was paid a lot of money to do a wedding event, and the bride was extremely, extremely difficult, as was the mother-in-law. And it was a multi-million-dollar event, and I saw so many temper tantrums, which for me was really hard to be around because I'm not used to that sort of entitled behavior. I didn't know how to handle it, and I wanted to vanish. And it was so difficult to please the mother-in-law and the bride. It was so difficult. And I dug into everything I had, and I tried so hard to please them, and it was so difficult. It all turned out fine, but I felt that day I had literally given everything I had, and there was nothing left inside me. I felt like my soul had been sold. Wow. Because I was trying so hard to please. And when they gave me the money, I had a wad of money. I walked down Madison Avenue in Manhattan crying because it was so difficult. And I thought, I never want an experience like that again. And if that's what it's about, that wealth and that opulence and all of that stuff, and this is how it shows up, I don't want to do that again. And it actually really turned me off doing any kind of brides after that. And then I got more brides, and it was like, okay, well, are you a nice person? And then I get strange things like, well, I'm inspired by quirky art, and be like, oh, okay, now we're going to the other extreme, right? So yeah, those was, I think with the thrill of something at a high level also comes high risk and the challenges. And it's like, if you think about storytelling, the greater the hero, the greater the villain, right?
Right.
And so when the hero ends up being so amazing, it's because there was an equal villain. So the villain can be difficult hair. The villain can be a difficult client. The villain can be the weather. I did a photo shoot one time in Santa Barbara. And when we got to the location, there was a mist. And there was dampness, and the call sheet was like wet. And I'm thinking, the hair's going to be damp and wet. It was a nightmare. No matter what I did, I didn't know how to fight that level of humidity. And we were doing an advertising campaign for hair. in a humid environment. It was like I wanted to shoot the advertising person who planned this. I said, we should be in the Sahara Desert. We should be somewhere dry.
Wow. Vivienne, what would you say is the most important piece of advice that you'd give someone who's starting out in the beauty industry?
The most important advice for anyone starting out in this industry, be a lifelong learner. We're in an industry that is part of the fashion world. That means it's always evolving and changing. Seek out great mentors. Don't be seduced so quickly by what you see on social media, because some of the tricks are tricks and they're not real, because so much has been edited out that what was edited out was an important step to the end result. And if you don't have discernment, you're going to look at something that was done in 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and you're going to try and recreate it. And all the important pieces have gone. And you're going to get disheartened, you'll quit because you couldn't do what that person did, because most of it was removed. Obviously, no hairstyle happens in 10 seconds. So being a lifelong learner, being mentored by people who've really, really proven themselves, whether it be in our industry, outside of our industry, always going to the top, the best. Don't go to middle, because when you dilute information, it drops down and it drops down. I wouldn't be who I am today if I had not been around the giants in this industry who shared all of their wealth and knowledge with me, and I now continue to share with others. So mentorship is really important. Always be engaged in something. Take your tips. Even if you're taking half of your tips, put it aside. That's your investment. And an investment should give you a double return at least. And I think that's so very, very important. Our industry generally has quite big egos, which I always see as a barrier, a way of protecting self, and an unconscious incompetence. A lot of hairdressers don't know that they don't know. And they find a few little things that they do well and they put it on everybody. Some, it may be amazing. For others, that wasn't the right look. Today, retention and referral is at the lowest it's ever been in our industry. So if we just put what we want on somebody versus what is the best look for that person, we may only be able to do that person once. And it takes a lot to win a client and to keep a client. And you can do the cutest little haircut and you can do the cutest, most gorgeous color. But if it's on the wrong person, it's on the wrong person and it doesn't make a difference. So I would say learn from the best of the best, be mentored, and just be open to learn. Don't get stuck. I work with hairdressers, 30 years in the business, and they are desperate to reinvent themselves. And I show them a pathway and they go, whoa, if only I'd known this earlier. Don't be like that person, because money will come and go in your career, but time, you'll never get that back. And how wisely you use your time is important. Do you know, Rebekah, the average person in the United States spends 2 hours a day on social media. That equals 30 days of the year scrolling, which is fine if you can show results. And the best way of seeing a result is in a number. Numbers don't lie. So if your business is increased, if your joy is increased, if you're thriving, happy people are people who have purpose and progress. That's the key thing, right? And if you want to keep your creativity going, you've got to look for it. Every day you've got to look for something, look with intentionality, and not be bombarded where it's just like, I remember.
Noise.
Right? Yeah, noise. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Vivienne, what would you say is the most important life or business lesson that you've learned throughout your career?
Wow, the most important, gosh, I think it's about being relevant. you've got to be aware of trends. You've got to be aware of directions and seasons within a business. And every business will have a winter season, and every business will have a spring and a summer and flourish. And it's so important to be relevant to what's going on today, because there are only three ways to increase your worth. And when you look at this, it's increasing the price of your services, it's getting more clients, and diversifying with what you offer, having more services to offer. Those are the only three ways you can make more money. But when you're looking at, your real essence, your real value, and you're really looking at that today, you've always got to ask yourself, what am I doing today? How can I do it 1% better? How can I do it 1% better? Because who you compare yourself to is really important. So I think it's important to have role models that inspire you and really deposit value into your life. But the most important person is yourself. So if you're photographing your work, how does this photograph rank against what you did last year? If you're photographing your work, how does it compare to last week? And being able to say, I am going to improve my work and my business by 1% is manageable. But one of the dangerous things, Rebekah, is that when you look at like high performers, one of the things that they have, which hairdressers seem to lack, is dealing with boredom. So if you think about an athlete, let's take a swimmer, for example, Michael Phelps, who, the most honored Olympian. How many times did he swim up and down in that swimming pool and keep doing the right thing and improving what he was doing better and better and better? How many times did he have to do that, right? Without boredom creeping in and saying, I'm bored swimming up and down. Now let's take that into the hair industry. So someone says to me, I learned a bob, I don't need to do it. Yeah, but have you done 100 bobs? And was the 99 bob better than the bob that was the 80 bob? Like, how have you progressed? I learned that technique. Yeah, but you got to keep practicing it. I can't wave hair. It's too difficult. Well, there's a technique. Learn it. Struggle. Go through the challenge. Come out the other end victorious. You've got to practice. And I think today, because we see everything so quick, we don't realize that very often we're envious of the end result, but we're not envious of what it took to get there.
That's good, Viv.
Viv, you make it look so easy. No, you're just seeing the end result of years of practicing. So if I'm asked to do a certain job and I haven't done a certain technique in a while, I've got to practice it. So being relevant today and not being a has-been is very important.
That's good. I like what you said too, just about practicing and putting in the effort and not expecting you to, I did it one time and I'm good, that repetitiveness. It's kind of like when a child learns, right? Like how many times, it's funny how our kids can watch movies over and over again, especially when they're really little and it doesn't bother them. They want to see it over and over again. And I think we can learn from them, in that sense of being repetitive with what we're trying to get better at. Like the more repetitive we can be with it, the better we will get. And so we can learn from them, I think. What keeps you motivated, Vivienne? What keeps you inspired? What do you feel like keeps you motivated?
Just to try and do what I do better in any shape or form. The quest, I'm passionate about learning. I love learning. When I get in the car, I don't say I'm getting in my car. I say I'm going to my university, because I will listen to a book. I will... what I've learned too now is the importance of when I listen to something, immediately write it down and then ask myself, how will I apply it? So this quest for learning is insatiable, because I just think it keeps your brain sharp and alert. It keeps you curious and not dull. So I think this insatiable desire to learn is really important, and just wanting to do better work, always better. And I love originality. And, I have been fortunate to create things that have been original. And it's really a really fine line between creativity and bad taste, because you can do something that's original, but it's a bit dodgy. And I think the test of real good taste is if it endures the passage of time. Because you can look at classic celebrity images. Let's take Marilyn Monroe. It doesn't matter which trend we're in right now. We can look back and go, oh my gosh, she was so beautiful. She was so sexy. She was so glamorous. She was so amazing. Now, maybe we'll appreciate it more and more when trend goes to classic and glamorous. But I think having that insatiable desire to always improve, I know there's more. I want to do what I do better and better and better. So that's what keeps me going.
Well, Vivienne, you've always done an amazing job with, keeping things beautiful and timeless. I really feel like that's something that people know you for, is the timeless work and the, like you said, like Marilyn Monroe, it doesn't go out of style, and you have an eye for that. And that's amazing. I actually have one of the clients that I work with here in Colorado Springs. When I went into his salon, he had a wall of icons on his wall, and you are up there as one of his icons. And I got to tell him that, we were friends and that I worked with you. And he was like, oh my goodness, because you're one of his icons. So
what's his name?
His name is Greg Chavez.
Hi, Greg Chavez.
Yes, he's amazing. And he knows how amazing you are too. So what's the one lesson, Vivienne, that you would that you've learned in your career that you think everyone in our industry should learn at some point in their life?
I think that our industry doesn't spend enough time studying the face and understand bone structure and understand where to put a parting and understand that there are different shapes of head, round, oval, pronounced occipital bones, flat crowns, etc. We design on a structure that's three-dimensional. And as we design, we can open or we can close the face. We can extend the face. We can shorten the face. So we work in the length of a hairstyle, the width of the hairstyle, and the depth of the hairstyle. Most hairdressers don't understand depth because generally we're stood close and above. And the only way you can see depth is using your mirror or stepping back. And when you see depth, you know where to build and where to reduce, whether it be a bob, a flat surface, or whether it be something with layers and texture. And taking that understanding into the maturing process. And I don't think there's ever a woman that will sit in your chair and say, could you please make me look 10 years older, unless they're 18 and they want to get into the bars and get drinking, right?
Right.
So most women are concerned about their jawline, their neck, their how much they're lifting their cheekbones. They're concerned about that, and it's fascinating. You put the right color and the right haircut on someone, you can take 10 years off of their life. And conversely, today cosmetic surgery, can range from 20,000 up to be lifted. So a surgeon understands the importance of taking the face back to being more youthful. We can do the same thing through color, through shapes, and we don't spend enough time looking at the canvas. We get into the hair. We are so technical in execution of the hairstyle. We often negate the most important thing, which is the consultation and face shape.
Okay, what would you say is the most exciting and rewarding part of your career in the beauty industry?
There isn't anything that will replace the joy of a transformation when you really have captured who that person is and they're just elated. And I'll give you a good example. I was doing this young girl's hair, early 20s. We did a cute little blonde on her, and we just did a few little pink tips. But before all of that, I did the consultation. And one of the things that she said that she loved was Marilyn Monroe. And I thought, well, if I could make her a Gwen Stefani Marilyn Monroe, that would be really cool, because she wasn't really so interested in the looking retro, but that was one of her role models. So what did I pick up? Blonde, glamorous, sexy, playful, flirty. Don't give her a serious haircut. Don't give her a dull color. Give her something that's playful, that's the character and the story of what a Marilyn Monroe is. So we did this deep dive consultation. I'm blow drying her hair and I'm just doing the finishing touches. And I see a tear rolling down her cheek. And I think, oh no, did I get this wrong? And I said, are you okay? And I'm thinking, oh God, I just screwed up. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And she said, no. And she was a little bit one of those jobs. And she said, you just don't understand. It's like, no, I don't understand. And I was really concerned. So underneath her robe and her cape, she rolled up her sleeve. And there she had her entire arm was a tattoo of Marilyn Monroe.
Wow.
And she felt like Marilyn. So I connected her to a role model, and it was so profound. But at the end of the day, it was a blonde, little layered haircut, quite choppy, with little pink tips. That's all it was. But there was something deeper than that. And that is the magic. So yes, winning awards is great. Standing ovations always very nice, because you feel like you've helped people. But when you actually take a regular, normal person and you transform them, that's magic.
If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would that meal be?
Oh, yeah, one meal. That's tough, because my husband's like a gourmet chef. And oh my gosh, one meal for the rest of my life. I suppose it would be kind of like a salady type of thing. But I do love cheese, which I shouldn't love. And I do love my husband's fresh homemade bread, which is amazing. But I would probably gear towards lots and lots of veggies. And yeah, probably that.
Vivienne, if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about? And why would you write about that?
I think I would write a book on being true to self, how to slay your own dragons. And sometimes in life, you find out how people love you when either you're really ill or you're leaving. I just recently lost my horse, and it was devastating. And I took a horse that was a rescue. He was very abused. And all I did was just love on him, win his trust, respect him, and give him the best life I possibly could. In his passing, the whole horse community kind of gathered around. And for the first time, I heard, wow, Vivienne, you are such an incredible rider. You took that horse that everyone would have given up on, and you transformed him. You are such an amazing mum to that horse. I heard feedback, and I never heard it when he was alive. And maybe I did need to hear it occasionally. I mean, my trainer would certainly say, oh yeah, well done, and da-da-da-da. But the depth of how people felt. When I left Vidal Sassoon's, I never felt I was good enough as an artistic director. I never thought that I was cool enough and edgy enough and la la la. When I left, I found out what people felt about me, and it was incredible. And I thought, isn't that sad that I'm leaving to find out that truth? And so to be gentle with oneself and find your purpose and find your voice and be true and show gratitude to self. And I'm not meaning this in an egotistic, narcissistic manner, just to love, because you can't give what you don't have, right? And just to be thankful for that, and stay true to your vision and be true to yourself, because I think that when you have that essence, it's so powerful. And you know, when we reverse engineer things, We're very good at finding problems. Well, this isn't working, that's not working, and so on and so forth. But Einstein always would reverse things. And he would say, right, let's find out, let's list all the problems, because we're really good at listing problems. List everything that's wrong. And then flip it around. And in flipping it around, you find your answers. So, for example, if you're having financial problems, you wouldn't go to a poor hairdresser and say, could you please give me advice on how to be a more successful hairdresser, right? That would be a really stupid thing to do. But sometimes people go to the wrong person for advice. They're in the same boat as you, and you're asking the person who's also sinking what they would do. And sometimes the courage to go to the person who's doing it, you either see jealousy or envy, or you think, well, that means I've got to change, and I don't want to change, and they're going to push me to do something. So I just think I'll go back here to where it's safe. And I love the quote by Joyce Myers, to complain means to remain the same. Mm. And so I think that, you know, when you look at all of this, it's like, wow, you know, get back in the driver's seat.
It's good, Vivienne. No, and what you said about how people sometimes wait until someone's leaving or someone's passed away before they, you know, like at a funeral, right? Where someone, you know, they're giving honor. It's like, why don't we give honor now? Like, give honor today, and, you know, and tell someone, like, give the compliment. Because that's really what honor is. It's noticing what someone is doing really well, and, you know, thanking them for it, recognizing it, saying something. And you're someone that has done amazing work in our industry, and I honor the fact that you have, and I'm so excited that I get to interview you, because it is an honor, Vivienne. The things that you've walked through, the endurance, the perseverance that I've seen over the years is amazing, and your work is amazing. So it's an honor to get to interview you today. What would you say is your favorite trip that you've ever taken? I know you've done a lot of, you know, photo shoots in different venues and different places around the world. What would you say is your favorite trip you've ever taken?
I think I've worked quite a bit in Morocco, and it's an incredible place to shoot on location. The climate is good, and I went to just amazing Marrakesh, just rich with colors and texture. Rouleblise, which is just incredible. It has the ancient Roman ruins. Cheshawin. We went to a place where they filmed The Gladiator, and it was just this incredible walled city. And just the diversity of color, architecture, the richness of the environment and the culture, just so fascinating. So when you're in a place like that, it's just so inspiring. I remember we were doing a photo shoot in Venice, and I was always known for fiddling. Like, it was never good enough, and fiddling is not a good idea, but I fiddled. And so this photographer, French photographer, his name was Aldo, he said, oh, you fiddle, you're fiddling and you're fiddling. He said, leave it alone. So they decide that they want to take the picture of the model on a gondola. And so the model's now on the gondola, and she's going off with the gondolier. And they're on the canal in Venice, and it's like, oh, I see something that I want to change. I'm like, oh, because I'm on land and she's now on the water. And, you know, that was like really interesting. So I think locations that really inspire you, it's just great to go there and do a shoot. I mean, it's just amazing. And I'm quite envious of those people who live there, because there's just such richness in the culture that's hard to find anywhere else.
That's amazing. You've been to some amazing places. Any trips coming up internationally? No,
not right now. No, I mean, I have on my list a few places I want to go to, but I had this fantasy that I want to do a retreat in a chateau in France, because I've been watching all the DIYs of fixing up. The British are like buying all these French chateaux and fixing them up, and it's like, well, I don't have what it takes to fix it up. I can barely screw a light bulb in. So I thought that would be a pretty cool thing to do. So that's on my desire to do a photo shoot and just take a bunch of hairdressers and just make that magic happen. But yeah,
That
so
sounds
nothing right
amazing.
now.
I want to go. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could spend the day with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Oh wow, gee, one
Historical figure.
one historical figure. God, there's so many. I think the person that probably comes to my mind the most would be Jesus. To be in the presence of a loving energy that, from what we hear, was quite playful and fun and compassionate and caring. The world needs so much compassion and caring, especially when it's inconvenient. So I think that would be pretty awesome.
Okay, what are some upcoming projects or events that you have coming up in your business that you'd like to share about? Any upcoming exciting things happening?
Yeah, well, next week I'm doing a bridal workshop, which is going to be fun. And I'm sort of breaking it down into who is that bride, what's her storyline, and how you can really build a bridal business and up the value of it. So we're going to spend 2 days. And what's interesting is that when I do these virtual workshops, so, like you're in the comfort of your salon or home, and I'm here in my studio, we're working together. So I can stop and I can look at what you're doing. You can ask me questions. And it's like I see you all on the screen. So I almost feel like a conductor and you're my orchestra. And I can just say, just raise your elbow or do this and do that. So that's a really cool way that I train now. And it's probably more effective than anything I've ever done before. And it's very different for our industry. And I figured out a way to make it work. So there's the bridal thing that I'm doing, which is a lot of fun. And I'm developing an app, which hopefully will be launched this summer. It's deep into development, and it holds the promise of being a game changer for our industry. And it's just amazing what technology can do to help and to serve. And the app is going to be a wonderful support to the consumer, and it's going to be rocket fuel for us hairdressers. So it's in development. So maybe the next time we chat, I can share that with you. But I think what's most exciting is the new platform that I have for training, because traditionally we've been to hair shows, seminars, look and learns, workshops, and traditionally we get little pieces of information. And of course, today we understand that we can go out and watch a YouTube video and we can watch all this different stuff. So there's plenty of information there. But what I'm seeing is the challenge is how you use it and the discernment of choice. Like, is that the right hairstyle for that person? Will it really, really work? It may not work. So I'll retreat back to the safety of what I know. And I understand that. So the way that I'm training now is producing results beyond anything I've ever done in my career. And bear in mind, I've done a lot in my career. And the reason it works is that my students, my hairdressers, watch a video that week, and then they come to a live event with me. And just as you're looking at me right now, I would be looking back at you. And we recreate that hairstyle. So we're able to talk about some of the challenges, some of the roadblocks, some of the adaptations for that hairstyle, the face shape that it works with, and we do the hairstyle, we recreate it. And that's where the big learn happens, because you're not passive anymore, you're active. And then after the workshop, we photograph the hairstyles and then we post them in the forum. So I now can see what you've created and I can give you feedback, I can give you help. I have my hairdressers put in photographs of their clients and they ask for feedback on their clients. I can give my input. When hairdressers are questioning their brand, what is their signature look? So I'm going to give you an example. I have one lady who's doing phenomenal work. She took a year's program with me and she's repeated it now for 3 years. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She doesn't live in a high profile area, a quieter sort of suburban area. And she is doing incredible makeovers, incredible. She's transforming women's lives. But I'm seeing a theme now. I can recognize her clients. And the theme is that they're very full-figured ladies. They're much more on the mature side, which is fine. She wants to expand her creativity. She wants to expand her brand, and she wants to raise her prices. And what she's doing right now is a wonderful transformation on quite challenging canvases. Because obviously when someone's very, very full-figured, the head is very tiny in relation to the body. And when somebody is aging in a certain way, say their chin is gone and it's going straight into the neck, there's certain things you can do, but it's that the style choice becomes more challenging because of the physical limitations, which there. But she's doing a brilliant job. So now I'm saying to her through this coaching, I'm saying, right, I want you to go to Starbucks, give out your card to some young kids, because usually in Starbucks, there's some pretty edgy people. I want you to go to the department store, go to the cosmetic counter, and just give out your card and offer either a conditioning treatment and a blow dry, and see if you can get some of these people to come in and take a photograph. I'm challenging her to say, I want you to get 5 house models. What are they? House models are going to be girls that are either with a local modeling agency. They could be from any of the creative spheres that may be within your community, that are gorgeous girls who are social and do their hair for free in exchange for taking pictures of them, in exchange for them just giving out your card. That's it. But you will service them for under a year's contract, and they will be your house models. Now, with those looks, you can rebrand yourself to say, yes, I do take care of my mature ladies, etc., etc. Wonderful. But there's this other layer where I can really explode within my creativity. So having watched this hairdresser every week now for 3 years, I'm seeing such a radical transformation. She's not the same person anymore. Now, this person wanted to quit the industry, was disheartened, didn't like her clients, all the negatives you can possibly imagine. We flipped it. She's making more money. She's loving her creative process. She's hair obsessed, to be perfectly honest. It's wonderful, right? So I'm not negating the value of whoever you serve. That's very important. But what I'm saying is there's another level as well. Your essence, your creativity, your artistry. And to take it to that next level, what you put out there is you're going to get more of. But the fashion ship is always sailing. And as it leaves balayage undone, ombre hair, relaxed and unkept, the next ship will come in, which will be groomed and polished, and it won't be about wearing a regrowth. And you better be aware that that next ship is coming in. And if you want to be on the beginning of the trend in your community, you're going to have a higher value of service because you're doing something that nobody else is doing. And when you play the scarcity role, I can do this and nobody else can, there's huge value there. So ultimately with her more mature clients, if budget allows for them to go up, fantastic. But sometimes with the more mature clients, if they're on a fixed income, you've already hit their ceiling and you're serving them, but your business can't grow. So you have to say, right, X about percent is going to be this. It's my community, blah, blah, blah. And I keep the ceiling there, but I have to now bring in fresh new business. I had someone who came on one of my training programs, Rebekah, who was 70 years old. And I said, why are you here? And he said, I need to reinvent myself. I said, why? He said, because I'm losing my clients. I said, what do you mean you're losing? He says, they're dying. I've been doing their hair for 50 years. So if you are not able to retire and you're now 60 and standing behind your chair, or even 50 and standing behind your chair, you better reinvent your client list, because your older clients who've been with you for a while, alas, either are going to hit a financial ceiling or they won't be around. So you always have to keep refeeding the stream and not be frightened of a new trend. I get people saying to me, oh, Viv, I don't know technology. Well, that's like saying, oh, I only use a candle. I'm not going to use electricity. Well, hello. Well, electricity is here to stay, and so is technology. So don't use that card of I don't know. It's called learn.
That's
don't
good, Vivienne.
Right? Learn.
That's right. We have no excuse. No excuse. All right, Vivienne, final question. If someone wants to get involved in what you're doing, then they should go to viviennemackinder.com. and
Yes,
also
yes.
follow you on Instagram and YouTube as well, right?
Yes, yes, just the same name. And there you can see a vast array of what I do. The best way of finding out how I and my team can help you is to book a coaching call. And in that call, Max is my head of education. We find out where you are. Where are you right now? It's very important to say, this is where I am. It's like on a map. You open up a map and it doesn't have any value until the little dot says, oh, this is where I am. Or, okay, so now where do you want to go? Okay, you want the fast way? You want the scenic way? Which way do you want to go? How much time do you want to spend going from here to there? So it's like we create the GPS to get you there. And we look at how much time you want to invest in yourself. What is your budget for education? And we look at making sure that you're paired with the right product to give you a result. So I'm not a digital platform where who cares if you don't watch the videos, because most people I know that have a digital business, they have people that buy a subscription and never even show up, and they just laugh. They go, you'll be amazed how many people buy my product and never even watch it. And that's not me. I'm results driven. So when we have people that are not showing up, we contact them. Are you okay? We haven't been to class in a while. Is everything all right? And that's usually when we get the bombardment of excuses. Mm-hmm. So, the only person an excuse serves is the person who's giving it to themselves. It suits themselves. Right. But it sure is not good when you're on the receiving end of an excuse. Oh, why that client didn't show up and didn't even have the courtesy to let you know she wasn't coming in. Oh, well, she's got a really good excuse. But that doesn't help you in your business. Or your staff member overslept because they partied last night. Well, that excuse doesn't grow your business. So excuses temporarily serve the person who's giving them, but actually they're very damaging. An excuse will always take you off the path to success. Always, always. Yeah. You've always got to say to yourself, this is where I am. This is where I want to go. No excuses are going to stop me, because I'll never take my eye off the prize. I'm going to slay that dragon. And there may be roadblocks and obstacles, and I'm going to be strong enough, and I'm going to develop the character and fortitude to go through the pain to the victory, go through the pain to the victory. Change is painful, which is why people stay stuck with regret.
That's right.
And I'm not about that. So if you want to come to my world, we are very results driven. We have incredible results. I have stylists who've increased their business within 10 months from 20 to 50%. I have hairdressers who always wanted to have a 6-figure income that now do have. I have hairdressers who've completely reinvented themselves, who are 20 years in the business, 30 years in the business plus. I've got someone right now that's only 4 months in the business, and she's blowing everybody up. I mean, unbelievable work. So it's about mindset. There's a mindset to success. And part of that mindset to success is your creativity in solving a problem. Because it's not if, it's just when. And it's like, okay, so this is my problem right now. How am I going to slay that dragon? What am I going to do? And who can be with me as a team? We conquer, right? And I think that's so important. And for salon owners, today it's very difficult to own a full commission salon, because everyone thinks it's more fabulous to be independent. It's very difficult to be an entrepreneur. You never leave your business. And while some people do really well as an entrepreneur, many, they fail, and they get this incredible sense of loneliness, and they're doing menial tasks that before they didn't do. So, a fully commissioned salon needs phenomenal leadership. It needs to have that team connection. It needs to have education that is 5-star, that separates them from the crowd. And it has to be open to opportunities. What's going on? Like, I know this amazing gentleman, Tony, he was my next door neighbor, but he had a very high profile salon in London. Very high profile. The Berkeley Hotel, one of the most prestigious, expensive hotels in London. Do you know what he'd do every Saturday? He would go to the Dorchester, a 5-star hotel, the Savoy, a 5-star hotel. He would go to the Concierge. he would back then give him £100, which was a lot of money back then, and say, anyone you can send our way today, we'll take care of them. And guess what? Every Saturday, there'll be clients coming from the Dorchester, from the Savoy, from the Berkeley, because he physically went to concierge every Saturday and said, can you bring in some business today?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, because of that, his staff would go off doing photo shoots and different opportunities because he created it. And every town has incredible opportunities. And when you're a team, it's not just about the four walls, it's what lives beyond the four walls, right? And so leadership is so important. So to all of the salon owners watching, God bless you. I know it's not easy. And, as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And for the independents, I have great respect for everything you do, because you work so hard and it's not easy to be everything to everybody. And our industry is very divided. And the more we can come together and elevate our standards together, we become a much more well-respected craft.
That's awesome, Vivienne. Thank you so much for letting me interview you. This was an honor. And if you want to get involved in Vivienne's world, go to her website, viviennemackinder.com, schedule a coaching call, and let them help you make a roadmap. Thank you, Vivienne.
Thank you so much, Rebekah. It's been an honor to be with you.